Hello and welcome to That Investing Podcast. We are on episode 3 of season 2 and we're joined today by Harjas Singh, who is one of the co-founders at Shares, which is a social investing platform. Harjas, welcome.
Hello, Simon. Hello, Charles. Thanks very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
You're more than welcome, yes. And Charlie's here as well, the ever-present co-host and stock analyst at large. Great. So Harjas, can you tell us about the journey that led to the creation of Shares, and what sort of personal experiences prompted you to start this company?
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit about me and my background. I was a software engineer in a different lifetime, working in financial services in the US at Deutsche Bank. I then made the move across the pond to work with them. And very quickly, what happened was that I was not able to, pay for a lot of things because any of the high street banks, they essentially required me to have like a permanent address, which I didn't at the time when I moved to London. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine tells me that there's this neobank called Revolut that can like solve that problem and allow you to get started and start spending very quickly. So I pick up this product and I was like, wow, like this is incredible. Like I can actually just like have a card on the go, start paying, start traveling in Europe and not get charged all of this excess fees. I was like a huge fan of this product and service. Long story short, after a year at Deutsche, I was kind of getting bored of, like the big corporate lifestyle. It was just like, not like making a lot of impact. And Revolut seemed like it was like a place that was just breaking barriers, inventing some cool products. And at this very time, they were working on a stock trading platform within the app. So it was Europe's pretty much like the first commission-free trading product that they were bringing to market. Exciting times, saw a job posting, applied for it, and fortunately got hired into the product team, which is essentially where I learned my craft. It was a very, very lean team. Just joined at the beginning of the journey when the product was just being designed. So launched that product, stayed there for 2 years, scaled the product to over 1 million customers when I left. And the team is killing it now. I think they've launched it in like very many jurisdictions. Super proud of them. But how Shares started was basically 2021. What was happening was that the GameStop squeeze obviously happened, which prompted me to really look and investigate into this whole social concept. So I was looking at all the Reddit forums and I was like, wow, like this is insane. Like people actually are discussing quite a lot, just not like mainstream, but on Discord servers, and people were selling like subscription to their servers where they were all kind of discussing like how to invest and what to invest in. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I thought that the Revolut app was something that could use a bit of a social layer. I come from the US where we were used to using Venmo, which was essentially like a payments product, peer-to-peer payments, but it came with a social layer where you could simply see what your friends were actually paying for. So it was just improving engagement, made the product a lot more fun. And with that same idea, I thought could be applied to investing and trading. And I think at Revolut, it was difficult to do because the app was already very convoluted. It was already developed and the business KPIs were slightly different. Mm. And I think the freedom to kind of experiment on that was not available. So long story short, I started my own journey, started preparing prototypes, teamed up with a friend who's now head of design here, and we started creating prototypes, reaching out to people who could give us feedback, investors. I met my co-founders during that journey, and we all aligned that that's basically what we wanted to bring to market. We wanted to build Europe's first social investing platform and prove the social thesis. So that's how Shares came into being.
Excellent, great background, fascinating stuff. So the investment sector is actually very competitive, as you know. Various platforms offering similar services. What gap in the market is Shares addressing, and how does it differ from those other platforms?
Yeah, I think all the other platforms are essentially single-player utilities, right? You sign up to the product. You give your KYC information. They'll show you a bunch of explore screens where you have all these stocks or assets listed. And then you basically have to figure out what to do next. So either you have the answer or that's pretty much it. But I feel like the masses don't really trade like that. I feel the masses actually rely on support. They rely on more transparency. They rely on looking at what other people are doing. Yes. I think fundamentally we're all social beings. Even when we look at restaurants and analyze places to go, we look on Instagram and we see, oh, okay, this seems like a cool place. And there's a lot of great reviews. And I think this is what was missing in the world of investing. And I think this is where we're trying to solve that problem of almost introducing people to investing by having familiar faces on the product. So our product actually comes back with a network that allows you to connect with others and understand the market so that you can make a better investing move as opposed to a single player trading platform.
Okay, thanks for that. Harjas, Charlie, question?
That's a good answer. I mean, so trust is a critical factor when it comes to investing. How does the Shares app build and maintain trust with its users, especially people who are newer to investing? You mentioned the GameStop saga. Obviously, a lot of people, Reddit forums, millions and millions of people coming in, and a lot of them are new. So how are you building trust with those newer investors?
Yeah, I think trust is such a broad topic because I think every touch point is related to can be tied to trust.
Yeah.
So one thing that you will notice is that during those GameStop saga and like Reddit forums, people were sharing like snippets of their investment portfolio. They were like, hey, my return is X% on GameStop, but there's no way to verify it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that can actually lead to further disinformation. People just saying, oh wow, this guy made like 10 grand, but you can't really like prove that.
Yeah.
Because it could have just been like a screenshot of.
He could have lost 50 yesterday. Yeah.
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 And I think one thing that Shares does is that these are all KYC people. So if I go to Charles, your profile, I'm actually seeing your trades live and I'm seeing what you hold. So I'm actually getting a better representation of what the reality is. I think that's one place where I think trust comes into play. Other than that, I think every touch point is a trust thing, right? Like, how much time does it take for my money to land? How much time does it take for my order to go through? Is my portfolio calculation correct? What providers are we Shares using for, let's say money movements, open banking? Does my deposit arrive on time or does my deposit disappear? So I think from a product business perspective, everything in fintech has to elicit trust. Like if you have bugs on the app, suddenly people aren't going to put money into your app just because they don't feel confident.
Yeah, I mean, it only takes one bug and then that's it. And they'll find another platform. That's the nature of the game at the moment.
And give you a 1-star review on the app store.
Yeah. Well, it only takes one at the top, doesn't it? And then that's it. There's so much competition in this space. And it's obviously, I'm not going to name competitors, but over the past couple of years, you've had the legacy providers for a few decades, but the choices on offer have kind of exploded. And obviously you've got this kind of unique offering, but at the same time, not only do you have to have like a unique selling point, it also has to be completely functional, which, obviously you get that idea. Speaking of trust, I guess on a different segment of it, sustainability and ethical investing, they're obviously significant factors for a lot of investors. ESG has made the headlines, both positively and negatively over the past year or so. What kind of initiatives do you have in place to cater to like the ESG investor?
I think we haven't really integrated specifically based on ESG, right? Because I think it's a score, how it's calculated, how it ranks isn't super clear.
Yeah.
And I think like propagating things for the sake of branding and labeling is like, I think it's not doing the right service to customers, right? Because you're then like kind of, hey, like this is great for the environment, so you should invest in it. But is it really?
Yeah.
Is it verifiable? I'm not so sure. So we haven't engaged in practices like that. I think the best that we've done is like categorize stocks. So we're able to categorize stocks that are like in the renewable energy space. We're able to categorize stocks in those kind of like industries. Like, let's say if you're like into like plant-based food or like meat alternatives, we help you categorize stocks and help you show you those companies. But we haven't like put funds or anything on the platform which are directly going through ESG.
Yeah, I mean, it's subjective, isn't it? I guess is what you're saying. I mean, we had this conversation with, I think we have this conversation with most people we interview. And yeah, I mean, the problem with it is that a Tesla, for example, which is obviously a very popular US stock, this is not investment advice at all. Some people would say that these electric vehicles are very good for the environment. Others would say that they're not. So is it an ESG stock or not? And obviously, that's up to you. I mean, the last question on trust and sustainability, what kind of technology do you have on the platform that ensures that you get security and privacy?
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got the social aspect.
Exactly.
So I guess it's, maybe it's not so private as other trading apps or other investing apps, but at the same time, people want the security, don't they? So how do you balance those?
So it's a huge topic for us, right? Because if you look at an investment platform, they don't have to worry about the social consequences of the social layer. which we obviously have to take into account. So very quickly when we started building the product team, I had a team called Trust and Safety, which is a very common team that is present at TikTok. They're present in Meta. All social network companies have this team, which is essentially in charge of how customers are being respectful, are they being harassed. We have community guidelines that are introduced to the public when they sign up, like to be respectful. And we also have mechanisms we installed in the feed where you can report comments for, let's say, financial advice or soliciting another business, or if someone's basically trying to engage in market manipulation.
Yeah.
So we've had to build up all of those controls, and we have basically a back end that is constantly looking at understanding when people report to understand what kind of phrases or words could constitute those behaviors.
Yeah, it must be a compliance nightmare, one would imagine. In some way. Yeah. No, I guess there's nothing else to say there other than, that's something you'll have to constantly be on top of. I guess with my question would be, obviously you've got this social aspect, which is really great. But then I guess the problem is that do you have an issue with, for example, somebody promotes one of, the US shares on your app and says, I've invested in this, I put loads of money on it. And then, could that constitute market manipulation if you have enough people being positive about it? Or is it just discussion that you're having on the app? And how do you define the gaps between that?
So I think there's certain design choices that we've made. Primarily, we never show you investment amounts.
Right.
So if you invest 10 grand, we will never show you that. We will just say, Charles bought Tesla at this price.
Gotcha.
We might show you the return you have, but also in percentage terms. So dollar values or notional values aren't disclosed. So that's a conscious design decision that we made, that we don't want people to start getting into this kind of flex that, hey, I've invested 10 grand in Tesla, so obviously I'm super bullish, which can then drive behavior to copy that.
Yeah.
So we've made those decisions. Plus, mostly everyone's portfolio is private by default. That's another design decision. So until you follow someone, they accept your request, you cannot actually follow their activity or see anything.
Oh, okay. So those are the compromises you've put, which is,
yeah. Ultimately, I don't see it as a compromise, because the more work we put into making it secure and elicit that trust, I think it's better. So actually going through compliance is not something it's a necessary evil, because you have to go through it in order to build a safe platform.
Yeah. And then there's the FCA as well, which is constantly on my back wherever you go.
Yeah.
Simon, do you want to hit the next question?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, you've talked about some of the challenges you've faced on the journey so far. I mean, have there been any really standout challenges that you've overcome, and what lessons have you learned in that process?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very, it's been full of challenges. I think people underestimate that tying or marrying the world of social, and then investing is it's an easy thing. You can just copy a feed and then just bring in a bunch of assets. But pretty much every company that we are competing with works on just one vertical, which is the investing vertical. They're only adding tools that make the investing utility better. But we not only have to do that to match with them, but we also have to innovate on the social side to make people's interactions better. And these interactions are novel interactions, because you don't really find them on a competitor app. How do people discuss about investing? How do they react? Should you have a like button or a thumbs up? What constitute as a positive sentiment in social for investing? So these are all kind of questions we have to deal with. And at the same time, we have to make sure that the investment product is also up to standard, so that if others offer ISO, we should offer an ISO. Because the social can be an enabler. I don't think it's something that will lead us. I think the investment product still has to be robust and best in the game. And then on top of that, social just makes it 10 times better by improving the engagement within the product.
Yeah.
But you can't survive if you are going to operate not a great, or not offer all the assets, not offer tax efficiency, and you're just banking on social to make the difference. Because ultimately people want an efficient trading product, efficient investing product that can help them invest in the best possible way. So those are some challenges.
Yeah. And you have a very simple business model as well, don't you? Because you're currently, even for UK users, it's only US stocks. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no ISA, there's no SIP, there's nothing. It's just investing, trading US stocks. Or is it a one-off fee? It's a simple fee, isn't it?
It's just a flat £1 fee. fee. Every time you trade, it's a £1 fee.
Yeah.
No other hidden charges, nothing at all. Just simple £1. And in the UK, we are looking to add all the above products that you mentioned. It's just a matter of when. We're already working on it in the background. Yeah.
Do you have a timeline at all? I mean, I'd argue the ISA, maybe SIPs aren't as popular, I would guess, but ISAs, I think, are. Do you have like a timeline? Do you reckon when you could get it on the platform?
Yeah, we're about to get it on the platform, I would say, in about 3 to 4 months.
So in the pipeline, ready to go.
Yeah.
You're excited?
Yeah, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be changes to the ISAs in the autumn statement, kind of mid-November, where we're talking, I mean, a few things have been thrown around. The idea is potentially you might see the allowance increase from 20 to maybe 25, 30,000 pounds a year. It could be the case that a portion of the ISA will be restricted only to UK shares. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. What do you reckon? Do you have any kind of ideas, guesses what they're going to do next or not?
Yeah, I think it's a key product. So actually, I'm working on a similar product in France.
Right.
So that's where we just recently launched. And in the European market, our product is actually way more competitive. Specifically in the European market, we do have ETFs, we do have European stocks, and we're introducing this PA account, which essentially allows you to invest about until 150K. Like completely, like you don't have to pay capital gains tax on that.
Yeah.
So that, I think they really nailed it there. And I think in the UK, I think there's improvements that could happen, like probably like introducing fractional shares, investment in ISAs. I think that's been discussed right now. I would be a proponent of that because I think people, like fractional shares, just like allow people to get into investing, in a much more simpler manner.
Yeah, I don't know, fractional shares. I mean, I've had this debate with several people over the past few days. Like, I do get the positives with them. I really do. How, essentially, investors can like build up to whole shares, or if they haven't got quite enough to, buy the whole amount of one. I mean, my concerns with it is obviously you don't get any voting rights if you have a fractional share, which may or may not be relevant to a lot of people. I think it kind of weakens that link between an investor as like a part owner of the business versus someone who, you're just investing to generate money. And I don't know, I think it's one of those kind of grey areas where I think fractional shares have some positives, but it also has some negatives. What do you reckon? Do you think that's fair? Or do you think it should just be fractional shares, just be allowed?
I think the problem is the access. I think like majority of the shares, like, if you look at the big tech, they cost you, to buy. And I think what that does is it then like brings this gap in how many people can actually access those shares and access the market, which obviously is like, as you said, you own full shares, you get more rights, but then how many people can own full shares?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the discussion is. And I think that's why fractional shares has led to the boom in investing in products, because now, anyone can invest as little as £1.
Yeah.
I think we can come up with a smart solution, which is like maybe be restricted on certain assets where you have to invest. But then there's like maybe an allowance which you can use towards fractional shares so that you're not being completely like ignored.
Yeah.
I think there could be a basket or some clever solution.
But yeah, I mean, either fintech will come up with a solution. My personal perspective, going back to that autumn statement, is that the Chancellor is going to allow fractional shares. That'll just not be a problem in the UK market. But I do wonder if he decides to do nothing, just leave it as a grey area, somebody in the fintech space will go, hang on, there's an opportunity here. We're going to find a basket of something and make it work. But I reckon that's the sort of thing that, people like you and many other people we see too, you see an opportunity and then you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you could open like an ISA for business or something, and then, you could allow people to have fractional shares on your balance sheet and you somehow own the bigger chunk in that ISA. Like there could be I don't know if it's possible right now, but you have to investigate it.
Sounds like you've got a spin-off business idea going in your head, I don't know.
Definitely, yeah.
Simon, do you want to take the next one?
So you mentioned fintech may come up with a solution for whatever happens after the autumn statement, but we know the fintech market evolves rapidly. How do you guys stay abreast of all these changes? Do you have a roadmap on how do you stay abreast of the innovations that you bring to the market? Like you say, you're going to bring an ISA, maybe pension.
I think the thing with fintech is that the whole industry is so dependent on the current economic trends, like consumer spending, right? Like if consumer spending goes up during the bull run, fintech companies do exceptionally well, right now you have consumer spending down, and all the payments companies that were formed that were in the middle are now kind of suffering. So I think staying abreast of trends is just keeping abreast of like what products like are gaining popularity. So when we started the company, it was a completely different time, right? Like people were talking about NFTs, people were talking about like wallets, people were talking about all different things. And I think that's what people wanted, and that was the need of the time. But I think now what has happened is like with the markets kind of like, like be behaving the way they are, people have really gone back to basics, right? Like people are really looking at like those long-term tax efficient ways of investing into recurring orders, not investing as much in more volatile assets, but more like index funds or like, in gold and things like that, right? And you look at competitors launching money market funds, just something that like allows you to gain like even like interest on cash. These were things that were not heard of like in 2021, right? In 2021, you were just looking to put money into Bored Ape, like whatever. Like, and now it's completely changed. So I think that's probably, I think people think innovation is like this like next like big feature, next big thing. But I think innovation is more like giving customers what they want at the right time.
Yeah. Well, it's adapting to the market quickly, isn't it? I mean, a year ago, growth stocks were on the up, right? Everything was gravy. Money was relatively cheap still. And now it's a completely different market. I mean, I find it really interesting. I mean, we're not going to give any investing advice at all. But I guess if your focus in the UK is on US shares, and that's what you offer, it's your core product. And obviously that £1 fee is very competitive. I think, that no one can argue with that. But I mean, if you're talking about like the larger US shares, like the Magnificent Seven, they've been driven by this AI bubble, right? Which some, including me, some analysts think is starting to slowly pop. What do you reckon is going to happen there? Do you think that these valuations of like Microsoft, for example, or Nvidia, are they too high, or do you think they can keep going up?
I think obviously like the market is going to like price it like correctly in the coming months. I think they've again, written like the hype has gone up and suddenly you see prices go up again. But I think the way it's looking like, I think the rates are going to remain like higher for longer than we want. So they're going to be like higher for a much larger time. And I think in time we'll see that like prices will revert back to the mean as we've seen it happen. I think companies like Nvidia, which have like strong like business fundamentals, I think there you can see how the stock has performed like really, really well. But I think specifically to AI, like I think I'm keen to see how things turn out. But I do believe a lot of them are like overpriced right now.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's going to be the same as the internet boom and the .com boom in the 2000s, as in a couple of companies will generate most of the revenue from the AI hype, and the rest of them are kind of just on the tailwind.
No, I agree, because every time ChatGPT or they make like a product improvement, I think they kill like 100 startups.
Yeah.
So I think for right now, like with their latest update, like that's incredible. And I think ultimately, like it is like definitely like a generational like shifting technology. Like it's a great technology. It's just like a lot of players will probably like fight it out to then like one or two people will eventually get us those outsized returns.
Yeah. So I guess my question, if you're coming to the platform, do you just have individual shares, or do you have ETFs as well?
Right now we don't. So unfortunately, in the UK product, we only have single stocks. So that's something that we are looking to improve. But on the European product, we do have ETFs. We're actually introducing investment plans.
Yeah.
So you will have baskets of stocks and ETFs catered towards your kind of like investing appetite, and you can also like build your own sort of like plan that works for you and put like recurring payments. So I think on the European side we are way more equipped. I think on the UK side, those are products that we are looking to bring in very soon.
They're coming in over the next sort of 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So say we're kind of like, say we're in like Q2 next year, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a new investor, right? And hi, I'm Charles. I'm a new investor. I've never invested before. I'm picking an investing app, as my first investing app. What would you say are like the key advantages that Shares has over, say, other competitors? What's that unique selling point? Why should I pick you? rather than, the other 20, 30 operators in the space?
Right. So I think first, there's quite a few things. I think first, definitely you as an investor are looking at investment products, right? You're like, okay, which investment product do I get?
Yeah.
More often than not, what you will do when you look at a social investing product, you'll be like, you put us in a different basket when you're comparing us to other investment products. So as a consumer, you'll be like, oh, these are all the regular trading apps that are just like trading apps. You go there and you invest. Fine, like these are the services they offer.
Yeah.
But this is something different. This is like social investing. Oh, actually, I can actually look at other people. So as a new investor, it's something that is comforting to see that like you can actually go onto a product that will allow you to understand things better. So you will be connected. So as soon as you onboard to shares, you're right away connected to 3 or 4 people, right? And you can actually look at like what they're saying about the markets. You can actually see their trades. So right away, you're on the educational journey, like you're learning right away.
Yeah.
And I think that is where a new investor really like, they don't know where to start, right? Like that is the common question and the common user problem that we hear all the time. It's like, where do I start?
Yeah.
What do I do? What do I buy? Right. And I think the single player apps don't answer that because they assume that people want to do the work. They assume that people actually will go and spend 10 hours doing analysis and like understanding investing fundamentals. Nobody has time for that. Like they just don't, right? Like people follow people on Twitter. They look at what they're saying. If it makes sense to them, they do the same thing, right? And I think it shares what we're trying to do is make sure that it's not impulsive like that, but at least it is giving that level of information and insight where people are like, oh, this person bought stock X and there was a news that he posted about before. Can I ask them a question? Can I say like, hey, why do you think this is going to affect this? And then there's an answer. So there's like communication, there's a friendliness. The product is not lonely. So I think that's where we kind of differentiate ourselves from just about like any other investing only platform.
That is an excellent answer. It's a USP. A USP. I guess I'll leave Simon with the last question, but I've just got one more. Would you say, and maybe this is kind of the question that you don't want to ask in interviews, but I guess I'm going to. Would you say there's anyone for whom the platform isn't right? Which, or do you think it's welcoming to everybody?
I think, as we all know right now, the UK product does not have, ETFs and instruments that require you to not do that level of research. I think we do welcome everyone, but we do believe that right now the UK product needs a lot more work to be able to cater to everyone's needs. I think US stocks in itself doesn't satisfy every investor's needs, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we think we need to work more.
But then you're talking about a lot of innovation over the next few months. So yeah. So when we come back to you in sort of 6 months' time and roll this through it again, you'll be able to say, yes, we are the best. Yeah.
100%. That is the plan. Yes.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Simon, do you want to finish us off?
What question would you like me to ask, Charles? We could go off piste. We could really mess with compliance's heads, but we won't do that.
I don't know. We mess with compliance. They're some scary people, some of them. So,
Harjas, excuse me, whereabouts are you in the UK or in the US now?
I'm in London. Yeah.
And you spent some time in the US, though, didn't you?
Yes, I was there. I was there for about 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And you came back, and obviously you mentioned working at Revolut and then setting up shares. I mean, this must be a fantastic journey and a completely, it must be really scary as well.
But originally I'm from Delhi, so that's where I was born and raised in India, and then I moved to the US to study, and that's how I ended up here completely by chance. I had no plans to be in London ever, and then it just sort of happened. And I think it's a beautiful city. It's given a lot of opportunity, and I think the startup scene here is actually I think it's evolved quite a lot. So you see a lot of the venture capitalists, they're setting up their headquarters in London now. A16Z recently moved a bunch of people here, so I think London is stronger than ever, and I think the opportunity is unreal.
Yeah, so you're enjoying yourself then?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you've obviously got a remote team, haven't you? So you're not all, there isn't a London office, so to speak, is there? Or is there?
There is a London office. There is a Paris office that we have where the French team sits. And then we also have a customer support presence in Krakow, in Poland.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you actually, you're not all remote then?
No, we have a pretty healthy on-site presence in London as well. There's a marketing team that sits out here. You have the UK compliance team. And then you have a few people from the brokerage and operations team, along with the product and product design team. That's help out here in London. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I don't have any more questions. I think that was a very interesting conversation about how you've come about to co-found Shares and the future direction it's going in. Hopefully, you'll be, we'll get you back on the interview. You'll have some news for us next year with some new products, some new equities, and who knows? You may have ISAs and SIPs in the future as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thank you for the support, and it means a lot. We're a young startup, obviously. We're trying to marry up quite complex verticals with social and investing. Yeah. But we're having a lot of fun because we didn't want to just build another investing platform. I think there's plenty of that. And if I want to do something, I want to do something that actually no one has done before. So
there are plenty of them, Harjas. We have a 2023 report on the state of the investment app market, which anybody can go to the website and find the report. We also have a review of Shares as well, which I think we're updating at the moment, so that should be live very soon. So, hey, look, great. Harjas, great to meet you. Great talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Simon and Charles. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you to Charlie. Let's cue some music then. Thank you. Thank you for listening to That Investing Podcast, brought to you by the team at Investing Reviews. Check out our latest stock market news and analysis at investingreviews.co.uk. You can also find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Just search for Investing Reviews.